Hmm. You know what an interesting idea is?
I don't know. Maybe the idea that COVID went into 2021 and then everyone decided to play superhero and they lost their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Figures.
That's right, folks. Welcome back to the Indie Choice Picks show. I know the show has been on a bit of a hiatus, but I am back and I'm giving interviews. So if you are an indie comic book creator and you want to get on the show, let me know. Find me on my social media platform. First, you can check out this awesome book. It's called Tights. Yeah, look at that artwork. It just screams hilariousness and creativity to me right there. And I love this book. So this book is basically a what if scenario on if COVID extended into 2021 and people who have been laid off from work just sort of kind of took the law into their own hands, but instead of making society better, they actually make it worse. So this book was actually a really great read. It was a lot of fun, and I have with me today the creator of Tights, Chris Waigand, who just crushed his crowdfunding campaign. He came in just under $10,000 with a goal of just $2,400. So I have him on the show, and I'm picking his brain on all the things that he did to get his campaign to that just extraordinary funded level. And I guess I speak for all the people out there looking to get their books funded. How did you do it? So he's with me today. I hope you guys got a pen and paper, take some notes, because he's about to drop some knowledge on how you can get your campaign to that level of just straight awesomeness. So I'm not going to talk anymore. Here's Chris Waigand, the creator of Tights. Enjoy. Hey Chris, my man, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. The last time we talked was a few months ago.
I know it was all so new. I was worrying about actually receiving printed books and yeah, all sorts of stuff. So it's a different world now.
It's a headache. I know the whole crowdfunding world. If you maybe you remember, maybe you don't. I do a show, which is
Oh
this
yeah.
show here, and I bring on creators like you, and they tell me about their book and all their ups and downs and how they got successful with their crowdfunding. So you're actually the first person that I'm having on the show in quite a while, to be honest. So
Nice.
yeah, man.
I'm
So
flattered. That's good to be here, man.
so for those for those people who are watching who don't really know who you are, tell them a little bit about yourself and your book.
So about me, let's see. So professionally, I was a copywriter in advertising, so making commercials for years, originally from the Detroit area. I did a lot of car work there, as you can imagine. And then about 9 years ago, I got a job out in San Francisco, and that's where I am now, working on the agency side to make ads for video games, which is
Oh,
awesome because I love video games. So I did that for a number of years. Then I went internally at Ubisoft, video game company, and most recently, I've gone to one of the biggest social media platforms in existence, and I've been when I was a copywriter, I was writing scripts, making commercials. Here, at my new job, I'm interfacing with the agencies and the teams who are actually building the creative, but I'm helping them make the best ads possible for all the platforms on mobile, because that can be different, right? Making a TV spot for 30 seconds or a minute is very different than when you're swiping through the feed at a million miles a second, just how you get someone's attention. So
right.
it's been great, man, like learning a whole kind of different skill set, and then helping still in gaming. So still helping, multiple gaming companies, just trying to make the best ads possible on mobile. So it's been fun, man.
Nice, nice. And to my understanding, and I might just be assuming here, you took what you've learned in these marketing jobs that you've had and you've put it into marketing something that for you, your comic book Tights.
Yeah.
And it's worked out fantastically for you from what I've
That's
seen.
so far so good. Yeah. It's having that background in marketing and obviously social platforms and just kind of knowing them in and out. And just knowing basically kind of what attracts people's attention and makes them stop at least for a couple seconds. And if you've done that, you won. So yeah, having this I don't know, background, particularly in my latest job, I think helped tremendously.
Right,
Yeah.
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I featured you in Indie Monthly magazine. I think back in November. You're probably one of my very first
Yeah.
interviews, and back then you it was you had a modest account on Instagram. You found me on Reddit, which that rarely happens. I post in Reddit all the time about people. Hey, come. You want to be featured in Indie Monthly magazine? Let me know. And like you, to this day, I think you're probably the only person who's actually responded via Reddit. And I found you on Instagram. You had a modest Instagram account. You still kind of do it now, but you before then you were getting ready to launch your
Yeah.
crowdfunding campaign on Kickstarter. You were
Yeah, it's
how
crazy.
did that feel? Were you nervous about it? Is it your first comic book? You kind of don't know what's going on here. What was your thought process when you were doing that?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a lot of firsts. So it was my first, yeah, creating my first comic, and then doing my first crowdfunding campaign on, it was on Kickstarter. So it was a lot to learn, man. And I'm very grateful for the community, the indie comics community, because everyone is just there to help you. Like, I don't know, like there's so many other toxic communities out there. And
Mm-hmm.
just meeting people doing the same thing as I'm doing. Maybe they launched a couple weeks before me or a month before me, or this is the fifth time they've done it. And just literally just asking questions. If you don't know something, just ask somebody. And I'm usually more than happy to help you out and answer any questions that you have. So going into it, yeah, you don't know how it's going to go. Like I read as much as I possibly could about, I think it was Greg Pak's Kickstarter secrets, or
Kickstarter
geez,
secrets.
I'm
Is that the one that I gave you?
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you.
It
Thank
came in
you. I
handy,
tried to
didn't
go.
it?
It did. It did. It really did. And yeah, I tried to go onto his site, but it was closed for the summer. But he was offering it for free before it closed down, so I didn't feel bad about it. But yeah, no, that was tremendously helpful. And then just reading blogs and everything else about starting your Kickstarter. So going in, I felt pretty confident. Family and friends are there to help me out, and then getting a decent social following, most primarily on Instagram, but I was in Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But I kind of leaned into Instagram a little bit more than the others, just because I'm the most familiar with it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, you never know what the hell is going to happen. So it's super exciting, and anxiety ridden. But when that thing goes live, uh, you don't know you literally don't know what's going to happen. But I
Right.
was very fortunate with the first day. Oh, someone's trying to call me. That I got pretty great numbers. I did well above I thought was possible for me, particularly again in my first campaign. And
Mhm.
then that felt good, right? Like as soon as you get funded, it's just like, oh my God, like you can take a breath. And then you just get ready for the lull. So I read all about the lull, and that does happen where in the middle of your campaign, it's slow rolling. But yeah, it was exciting. It was terrifying. It was all of the above.
How long did it take you to actually, well, first of all, what was your goal? Did you have a modest goal or did you have an over the top goal? And how long did it take for you to actually break that goal?
My goal, let's see here. My goal was $2,400.
Okay.
And I set that low. I mean, realistically, right? Like how much it costs to actually create a comic is it's a lot. I think a
Yeah,
lot more than people think it is.
absolutely.
And just time, right? Yeah, that doesn't even factor into a cost of something, but just the time and the money that you put into something. So $2,400 wasn't going to cover, it was not going to cover my expenses, or probably half of my expenses. But I said it at that point because I was going to do this no matter what.
Hmm.
And again, like I was going to print this damn thing and it was going to be my hands. So I just wanted to make sure that it was high enough to get some money back and maybe put some money forward to keep it going. Um, but, low enough to where I would probably hit it. I hope that I would, just studying kind of other similar campaigns. And
Right.
again, I got lucky. In the first day, it was fully funded within like 3 hours or something. And
Oh,
then
wow.
ultimately, man, we did really well. We got lucky. We finished with, I'm looking at the numbers here, $9,266. So I think that was 386% with
Yeah.
186 backers. So well over my modest expectation.
So you came in just under $10,000. So
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, you said it
Yeah.
was what 387% funded. You had a slightly modest goal of $2,400. Where did you sort of kind of pick that up from? The $2,400, was it just a number that was floating in your head, or was it something that you actually had to calculate in order to make X number of books?
It's not really. I mean, I was doing the math of what thresholds I would hit to save some money on printing, in bulk, right? What those numbers are.
Right.
I ran numbers. I was trying to, I'm terrible at math. And at the end of the day, I literally just looked at other campaigns and I would type in how much these, first time indie comics creators were asking for.
Right.
And I would see if they met their goal.
Okay.
And I just kind of put them in a little Excel and I pressed this, the sum button, divided it, found the median. And I was like, okay, around this $2,000, I think it was like $2,000 to like $2,800 or something like that. And I kept going back and forth, and it's funny what you do because you don't know what's going to happen. But it was like I had $2,100, and I would change it. Like these were hours before going live to 22, and then 28, and then 26, and then I settled on 24, and I just walked away. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And just again thinking back on it, like that probably would have made the difference. But
right.
But yeah, it was more of a kind of some math involved, but more of kind of a gut feeling of, I think people get excited because it's not $1,
Right.
it's not $100. So they take it seriously if it's a couple $1,000, but not too crazy to where it's like, well, geez, I'll come back if they get anywhere near, if it was $15,000 or something.
Right.
So yeah, starting or putting at a lower amount and thinking you're going to hit it, I think is the safe way to go.
I've seen people set a modest goal of like $500 or like $800, something that's really small.
Yeah.
And it's a hit or miss. Sometimes it blows up, sometimes it doesn't. And I haven't really figured out what the contributing factor is to that happening. You said in the beginning, on your first day, you broke your goal. You were fully funded. How many backers was that? And do you know how many were of direct relation to you, friends and family and stuff like that?
If I can scroll through. So I think this is a decent tip, I guess. So we can get to like posting and how many times just to get, to build a following. And then even during, especially during the Kickstarter, how you need to be posting stuff daily. So what I did is I created a template and I worked in Keynote because just for me, it's just easier to drag and drop images and just keep a template going in that. And then I would export it as a PDF and then a PNG, and then I would post it. But that's
you do that straight from your phone, or is that like something you did on your computer?
On my computer.
Okay.
But then I would send it to my phone to see what it looked like to make sure that the fonts weren't too small or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so that was the process, but here we go. What I'm doing right now on my screen is I'm looking for, I thought I had a post. Geez, I'm not seeing it. But let's see. No, I don't have the numbers of that first day. But I will say this: it was a lot of family and it was a lot of friends.
Okay.
It was a lot, obviously, the people who, I communicated with during building kind of the brand, following up to the launch. But yeah, in what you'll find in Greg Pak's awesome book and any blog posts, or really if you talk to anybody, that initial push is mostly family and friends, and don't feel bad. Like it's amazing, like the positivity and just how good it felt to see that so many people actually do care about one, you, and two, like they're behind you in your creative endeavor. Like they think it's really cool and they want to be part of it, because I think deep down in everyone is somebody who probably wanted to make a comic book at some point, right? Like even if you're not into comic books now, as a kid, I don't care, boy, girl, whatever. You probably had a fascination. And so everyone was like, wow, that's pretty interesting. Yeah, cool. And when they see how much effort you put into it, then they're like, well, shit, and you're almost done. It's like, okay, then I'm buying a thing, right?
Right.
And I think that's also important, is try and get as far as possible in your process to finishing it. Because the more that you can show that you have done it, right? Like
Mhm.
not just sketches and an idea and a dream. It's like, no, this thing's happening. Do you want to jump on board?
Right.
It goes a hell of a long way.
I know a lot of people, and sometimes myself included, they run a Kickstarter campaign and they don't really know how to ask their friends and family to support their book. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like you're trying to sell them something, and you don't feel as though what you're doing is actually adequate or worth people's time and money. How did you ever run into that issue, like getting nervous on asking your friends and family to kind of back this book, and what prompted them to actually do it on the first day to help you crush your goal? Like, what did you say to them exactly? I know a lot of people they have hard times asking friends
Yeah.
and family for
What's
that. And
tough? I mean, to be honest, I don't think I ever was like, could you please back this on the first day
right,
to anybody? But
and
I wouldn't fault anyone to do it, quite honestly, because it's just important for then those who are new to your book or whatever your crowdfunding, to see that it's already gaining success and there's
right,
a wave that begins to develop, and people like to ride that wave. A lot of people are hesitant in the beginning, they're hesitant in the middle, but if they see if it's building in the beginning and the end, they want to get in on it. So I wouldn't fault anyone for just straight up emailing through social media, asking people to just do it. Be like, hey, if you're going to do it, just do it in the beginning, right? I think that would be a very smart thing to say. But the way I did it was, I had my Tights comic book, social presence. Then I had my own.
right,
And so I wouldn't post everything from Tights in my personal. So when I did post something in my personal, it was like, countdown, it's 14 days until we launch this thing. And it's a post, it's branded, there's some fun content there. Maybe I change what the characters are saying in the panel. So I used a lot of art from the book because it was already finished to do the
right.
social post.
Makes
And I would
sense.
change, what they're saying so that, it had something to do with why I'm posting, right? Like they're talking to you. So I would do kind of a countdown. And so people, like when they would see my personal thing, they're like, oh, okay, this is getting serious. But I wouldn't inundate them like, I would daily or multiple times a day in my Tights comic book, because that's what people are expecting when you're following a page. You want that content. If you're my grandma, I don't know if you want to see too many violent stuff, but
Right.
you're there to support me. So I think it was a lot of letting everybody know the thing is going to happen in this many days, and particularly when it was like the day before, the night before. Maybe I post a couple things on the personal, the day of, absolutely, like this thing is live, check it out. Making sure that if I can post a link, I can post a link, making it as easy as humanly possible for everybody just to get to it. Because that's the other thing. You don't think really of some people, they're in their phone all day and they can operate any platform imaginable. And if they don't know how, they can do it in a second. But a lot of people, if they're older, if they're just not into social media at all, or they've never heard of Kickstarter, you want to make it as easy as possible for them. Because even when they get to Kickstarter, any crowdfunding platform, there's a little bit of a barrier, right? Like you have to
Right.
give your email and you have to like figure out, okay, wait, what's a pledge? Like I want 2 of these things. Like, what do you mean I can only get one thing? So there's already a barrier there. So just making it as clear as when it's going to happen and as easy as possible to make it happen, I think is important.
Right. And I've been asking you on Instagram because I'm trying to start my own Kickstarter for my own book. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that helped you in the beginning? And one of the things you said was create a separate Instagram account for that particular project. And that's what I've done. And I've seen, I'm not posting as much as I should. Like it's just so much to do for my day to day between work and me taking care of this new squishy little baby I got going
Yeah,
on here.
congratulations again, man. No,
Thank
I know
you,
how it
thank you.
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have very few hours in a day for this.
yeah, it's tough, but I have found success with that, and I have finally broke my first 100 followers, and people are starting to gain traction. So that is very, very helpful information. When you were running your Kickstarter and people were seeing what you were doing on your personal page, did they gravitate over to your books page and started following? Because you shot up in followers. I think when we met, you had a little more than 100, 200 followers. Now you're in the over 1,000 now. I
Yeah,
know that the Kickstarter kind of helped contributed to that
for
following
sure.
for your particular book.
Yeah, yeah, I would so for family and friends, definitely like letting them know that there's an entire different page and that's where all the fun stuff's going to be
Right.
that you want to check out. And so what you can do too is just follow your friends right from that account. So tell them about it and then follow them, because a lot of people are like, yeah, cool, and they just won't remember, right? It's nothing against you. It's not like they don't care. It's just there's a million things again happening in your life and maybe you just forgot, right?
Right.
So if from your comic account, friending all of your friends, that's a nice little reminder like, oh shit, that's a thing Chris was talking about. I forgot about that. Yeah, why not? Of course I'll follow him. So that certainly helps. And then I will say what really helped me build numbers was, well, one, don't pay for them because people, it's so
Oh,
transparent. People
absolutely
can
not.
see
Yeah.
through that, right? Like I have
I
three posts
was
with 3,000 followers.
right. And it's like
Yeah.
I sent you a screenshot, or I don't know if it was a screenshot message. I'm like, what's up with all these spam followers? Like you get all
Yeah.
excited, you getting comments on your post, you get all excited, oh my God, people are seeing it. And then you're seeing it DM this to this account for 100 million followers or some shit like that. And it's
Yeah.
really annoying. I hate it.
Yeah. No, it's terrible. And yeah, you'll continue to get spammed with all that. And at first I didn't know because it never happened to me. I'm like, oh, really? You're gonna post it? Thanks a lot. And they're like, no, you have to pay me. They said, quote, no, you have to pay me, honey. I was like, oh my God. But then it came, yeah, it became pretty commonplace.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is what helps outside of family and friends, obviously, is what I did is I was a madman when I was building it and during Kickstarter, and still now I try and do it. But every night I would go on social media. Again, I leaned more into Instagram, probably Instagram and Twitter. I mean, Facebook, I would post everything too, but just kind of focusing on one or two things. I would find other indie comics creators. I would find other people who were starting a Kickstarter or who had done a Kickstarter or thinking about a Kickstarter, doing the same thing, making comics. I would find them and I would just like, I would like things that I like, right? But usually like you like one thing and that I liked that post. What I would do is I would go in and I go, what else do they got? And I would like all this stuff. Like this wasn't fake. It was just like, damn, this is all badass stuff. And I would put in the time, and people love that. Like when they see someone new and they're following you and they liked 10 or 15 things, it's like, thanks. Like that helps the algorithm, right? Like it's helping everybody out. So and I would do that. And then if they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm like, oh, you're doing great work. Then I might ask them a question, right? Or I'll be like, damn, like, who's like, are you the artist? Are you the writer? How'd you get into this stuff? And when you spark that conversation, you have that conversation and it's meaningful for both parties. And then when it actually comes down to they're releasing their Kickstarter or you are, you can look at your messages, and those are usually the people who you are closest with, even if they're new friends, right? Like you've had a conversation. So you definitely want to let them know, oh shit, remember we talked about this Kickstarter. If you dig it, check it out. I got 9 free pages, no pressure, but here's a link, right? Because I can send a link in the message to them. So it was just good to kind of build a friendly community early on of like-minded people doing the same stuff who make awesome work. And so when you like their stuff, they usually follow you and they like all your stuff. And then what I would do is I would see, okay, well, this guy is awesome or this girl's awesome. Who's following them? And that was a really good way. Then that opens up because then mostly it's other people who love the stuff that we do, other creators like us. And so that just takes you down like a very healthy rabbit hole of finding new people and then doing the same thing. Just like what you see, follow them if you like what it is, open a conversation. And I just found that was just a good way to build a space within the community.
You're saying all this stuff, and it's like I'm thinking about like, that's smart. That's like basic common sense. There's so many people, they overthink the whole process. They're like, oh, I need a strategy. I got to do this, and this. And it's like, no, just stop for a second. All you have to do, literally, like when you said that you use your comic book account and you reached out to your friends and you followed them through that account, I would have never thought to have done it. And I did that with you, with my account. I never
Yeah,
thought
there
to
you
go
go,
to
man.
my friends list and say,
Yeah,
hey, this is my books list, my books Instagram. I'm
yeah.
following you, follow me back. I never thought to have done that with my own circle of friends. And it's something that's so simple, yet it's super effective, you know?
Yeah, that's all this is, man. It's things that when you figure it out or you see someone else doing it, you're like, what the hell was wrong with me? Like, this is
Yeah.
the most obvious thing. Trust me, that happened 100 times, and it still happens almost every day when I see something badass. I'm like, wow, like why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I do that?
I think a lot of people, they don't focus because when you're building the social media presence, you can count that as like pre-launch. And a lot of people
Mhm.
count their Kickstarter pre-launch as like the first 2 weeks of counting down before your campaign launches. And it's like, no, you got to go back at least a few months to you building your
Oh yeah,
community presence online, interacting with people, building those followers, and getting a nice, healthy community. That's the pre-launch right there. You
yeah,
have to do that because if you launch and you're trying to build a community and there's 2 weeks left before you launch, your campaign is probably not going to succeed as well as you think. So
yeah.
it's a lot of this stuff is so obvious, and I'm guilty of it too, of overthinking, what I can do to, promote my book when it's just simply engaging and taking like maybe 15 minutes a day, scrolling through the indie comics hashtag on Instagram
Yeah.
or whatever social
Yeah.
media has, and talking to these people, giving them thumbs up, commenting on their posts is really simple. And I think a lot of people might, and myself included, they miss the boat on that. And it's really important that they, get on that boat as soon as possible.
Yeah. And when you say pre-launch, that is so important. You should build a following, right? I think it's too hard to put a number like by the time we do the Kickstarter, we should have this amount. You can have hopeful thinking or you can set a goal, but the best thing is just to start it. I think I
Right.
started Tights 2 months before around 2 months before going live, like created the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter. Along the way, started building a website because I knew I wanted a website to be live during the campaign, just in case people wanted to learn more or, discovered it that way. But yeah, that dude, that's one of the most important things you possibly can do, just because it's also kind of a proof point too, right? If it's just a Kickstarter, and even if you have a badass Kickstarter page and you have it filled with all sorts of, finished pages and a good video and all that, if you don't have any presence in social media, it just feels like there's something missing. But if you have something and then people go to it and they're like, holy shit, like look at all these posts and all these people like dig this. And oh my God, there's all these things that I didn't even know about this book. It just strengthens your case to be like, yes, you can trust me. Yes, this is good. I know you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question. I never like, I backed your project, obviously, of your book right behind me, which is, it's great. I let my
Oh,
cousin
thanks,
read the
dude.
digital copy, and he doesn't read comics, but he read that one and he loved it. So
Oh, cool.
he's actually my co-host for our podcast. So I was trying to get him on,
Oh,
but
yeah,
he's out
yeah.
of
Yeah, I
town
know that,
for
dude.
business. Yeah, he's a cool kid. I backed your project because we had talked prior, and I absolutely love what you were doing, especially when you gave me the first 9 pages.
Yeah, I think it
This
was, yeah,
is
9.
this is fun. I like it. So I backed your project. What I didn't do though is I did not check out your Kickstarter campaign page video. Like, was it what did you do in order to do that? Most people do like a little short animation. Most people do like a slideshow of the panels and kind of briefly go over what the premise is in 30 seconds or less. What did
Yep.
you do?
Sorry if you hear that. Oh,
It's
crying
my
baby.
I hear my crying baby too right now. It's
um,
cool.
so what I did, again, that was just looking at what other people have done, also reading what typically performs well. And I think what people want to see a lot of times, you don't have to show yourself, but I think when the voice is coming from you, and it could be over, a moving comic, like panning, over your pages. Some people put in like animation. Some things are incredibly badass. Like Roz and the Big Man is a Kickstarter campaign. Their book is phenomenal, by the way. You should check it out. The dude was like a pro. Like I reached out to him, like, who's doing your animation? I mean, it looked like it was an animated show. It was so beautiful, and the music and everything. Like that was like, I mean, that was like movie on television level. That's extremely badass. If you can do that, all thumbs up. But most
Right.
people, I'm a copywriter by trade. I can Photoshop stuff, but I'm not an animator by any stretch of the imagination. So what I came up with was this. I'm like, okay, what I'm going to do, I got buddies, and I've been from advertising that I have a producer buddy. I know he can probably get a good camera. Maybe he can come over and just shoot me so it looks like legit. I mean, I think an iPhone would look probably pretty good too, but there's a certain polish of, like a pro camera. And I would, kind of begin to talk about the book to camera, and then it would cut to the first kind of, or what was the first 9 pages and other pages throughout, but just not talking about like the synopsis of the book, but talking about it while you see the pictures that pertain to what I'm talking about, right? Like the world is full of, these regular Joe and Jane vigilantes who are trying to make a difference, but are really kind of fucking things up, right? And then you would see that, right? Like you'd
Right.
see one of the tights trying to help, but absolutely just blowing it and ruining everything. And then talking about protagonist and, the antagonist and what's happening in the world. So that was all on screen as I was saying it. And at the end of it, I bookended it with my face, I guess. And then that was, okay, that's the story. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we have to offer very quickly. And, we have a bunch of different pledge tiers, a lot of fun stuff. So we just, well, thank you for watching. We hope you check it out. Right. And so I think in total, that was, I think a little under like a minute 30. I didn't want to go anywhere over 2 minutes, because that's also what they say, like 2 minutes is about the wheelhouse, shorter, right? If you can. For me, again, I'd have to look at it, but I try to make it as short as possible and entertaining. So what I did is, so for the comic part, I started to try and learn like the editing programs. And at the end, I actually did edit a couple things, but I found someone on Fiverr who is in a different country, but had some, it had experience in creating kind of promotional videos for crowdfunding and for other stuff. So, I reached out to a couple of them, like, can you do what I'm thinking? And this one guy seemed like he could, and he did a great job, but I did it too close, man. I mean, it was like a day before I went live, I think, actually ready. And so I had to like learn Final Cut, because there are just a couple things that we just didn't get to that I'm like, I need to, these are tweaks that over an email are very hard to understand, but I know exactly what I want. So I'm just going to learn how to do this. And so I just sat down, and I think for 4 or 5 hours, just did all the tutorials, and I learned enough to where I got it to the place where I wanted it to be, to put it like the final touches on it. Yeah, so it was close. It's really close.
Hey, but you did though, and like that's really important. I mean, because people were saying, you want to have a video. Like all of the successful campaigns that have ran, they've had a video. They didn't just sit there and have a banner there or screenshots of their book. They had a video, whether it be an animated video of one of the scenes in the book, or if it was the creator talking about it, or if it's just as simple as some dramatic music in the back and the background is panning over a panel showing what's going on with some text flying by. It's something that it generates interest within the people who are visiting your page. But like me, I just backed the book because I wanted the book, because it was fun when we talked about it initially. So, somebody who's not like me, who wasn't anticipating a book, might stumble across it, because if I'm not mistaken, because you crushed your goal in the first day, Kickstarter actually started promoting your book in its algorithm, right?
Yeah, that certainly helps. And then, so the video, I think, is kind of paramount. After doing it, I definitely agree, because there's a hell of a lot of views on it. More people watch it than you think, but also don't be afraid to repeat the same exact information in your like summary, because a lot of people don't watch it and then they just want to read it. Like, okay, I just want to read it. I'm at work, I can't watch a video. Don't avoid repeating the same info, because not everyone's going to read both. So that's also something I would say. Where was I going? Video. What did you just say before? I think I interrupted you.
The Kickstarter algorithm promotes.
Yes, that's what it was.
Campaign.
Yeah. So if you start off and you're doing really well, I think their algorithm notices it and they start making it more visible to people who are just on Kickstarter. it starts feeding people you might like or check out or whatever. And then what helps, I think, too, is getting the Kickstarter project we love. And that's a nice little badge that they give you that you can put on to your your like static image. So if I'm going through Kickstarter, a lot of people put that badge on there, and it just, first of all, I think it pushes you up literally physically on the list. So when people are scrolling, you're higher up and more likely to be seen. And then it just adds something, right? Again, you've been noticed of something of note, right? And so then I took that badge and I put it into all my posts on my organic page. And so when people see it, they're like, oh, okay, cool. This is like a real thing. So that was also very helpful. But there's really nothing you can do to get it, but actually I will say this. If you start I used a bunch of hashtags, and I'll briefly say this. What I did is I typed up a list of hashtags, and I then saved it into my notes in my phones because I was posting everything from my phone. And so what makes it easier is if you have all those hashtags, that block of hashtags in your phone, when you go to post something, you're not typing them all again.
Right.
There's no easy way to really pull it from any social media. Right. So if you go into your notes, you copy and paste, and then you put it in. Yep. It's just so much faster. So yep. I had Kickstarter, I had Kickstarter comics, I had Kick It Up Kickstarter's a thing where they notice something that they like and they post it. A lot of people follow that. So I think that might actually help. If you start using some Kickstarter hashtags, they might see your project easier.
Well, a lot of people, and I do this too, a lot of people, they go to Google and they like Kickstarter hashtag for Instagram, and they have like a whole list and they copy them and then they just copy them to the clipboard. They do that. And I think that's probably how we get like a lot of those spammers that, just spam the comment section of whatever we're posting. Yeah. Kind of annoying, but it does help a lot because there are a lot of accounts, especially I think Kickstarter has like an official account. They do see those posts and they do like it, and they do probably sometimes put it in their story, like, yeah, this is something that we promoted on our page or Kickstarter, we like it, and they have the badge and they actually help you. So it's true what they say, the first 24 hours of your campaign is super crucial. It's because the algorithm in Kickstarter, or sometimes even Indiegogo, that's another one I've heard, they do actually promote your project on their, you might like this page, or this is our, a featured project of the week or stuff like that. So very, very important that happens. So you ended up having stretch goals. A lot of people don't know about stretch goals, so maybe you can kind of explain what they are and what you did to kind of get there.
Yeah. So when you're running a crowdfunding campaign, you have your pledge tiers, right? You have your digital, you have your physical, and then you get crazy with it. You get, all the covers and variants, and then you get prints and bookmarks and, with the full package. So stretch goals it's kind of like that. But what you do is you kind of tease them out. I think usually I did some after I hit goals. I just came up with them like, guess what? You all get a free print. But what's smarter than that is you see that you're approaching a goal and you're not quite getting in there. So you want to incentivize people who have already pledged, maybe to pledge more, or you might get someone's attention that hadn't pledged yet, because you're offering a really cool, fun thing. So a stretch goal, for instance, for me was I wanted to have some, fun, like merchandise type thing. So when I, went past my goal, but I wanted to get it higher. I forget what number it started at, but I was like, I want to make some t-shirts. I think making koozies would be cool. And these enamel pins, I think we have a good idea for that. So I'm like, I'm going to make it a stretch goal. If we hit, I think it was like 5,000 or whatever, this will become an add-on and also a pledge tier. So with it, you also get a digital download of the comic. So for those who might have just wanted a digital copy and maybe they're not into the physical, but maybe they would want some of the gear, they could get that and they would have the comic and the fun stuff. But also as an add-on, if you got whatever the other pledges were, you could also add all that package onto what you've already pledged for. And
so you basically made it as an option to where when people are getting their book, you can, what about this? Do you want this? And just kind of add it on into your cart when it's time to come make the pledge.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so I did a couple of those. I did one where I had my artist Edison Neo. I was like, let's make a cool print. And what was it? We were talking, we're like, let's like do like a cast photo and, something fun. And then he's like, okay, I got it. And he had this awesome vision of like the cast. It's almost like they shot a movie that was tights and now they're all just hanging out by the water. And it's like, it's by the Golden Gate Bridge and it's like a selfie and all the characters are doing their weird things that, they kind of do in the comic. But, it's looking like they're all trying to get in for a picture. So that was one of them that I just gave away. I think when we got past the goal, the t-shirt pack was one. And then the funnest one was, so at the very end, we were approaching $8,000 like with 2 days left. And with one of my vendors, I saw that they could make skateboards and not only like skateboard decks, but like they put together a badass setup. And, I skateboarded when I was younger and like there were good trucks, good wheels, good bearings. So I'm like, all right, this isn't like, a Walmart skateboard that you get that you trip over because the bearings are so bad and it breaks in 2 days. Like this is a real skate setup. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I just kind of designed the deck, turned out really well. And I'm like, screw it. If we get to $8,000 before this thing ends, I'm going to give this away. So if you've pledged, you have a chance at winning the skateboard. And the more money you pledge, the more virtual tickets you get. So what we did is I got a friend far smarter than I in Excel, make this little formula. So we did tiers. So if you pledge $500, you get 15 tickets. If you pledge, one, or if you got the digital download for $5, you get one ticket. So there were all these tiers. And so people got excited about that and they just kind of wanted to win a skateboard. So that helped. And then we blew past $8,000 almost immediately. And so I'm like, well, shoot, I'm kind of out of ideas and I think it's too late to like think logistically about other crazy stuff. So I'm like, screw it, two skateboards. So I'm like, we're gonna raffle off 2 skateboards if we get past $9,000. And then we got past 9,000. And then that was also like a fun thing, like a raffle. I think is just fun, man. So what I did is after the campaign, I did an Instagram live where I did the reveal of who's winning it. And so I did it live. I wish I had kind of like a thing full of like lottery balls, but I just had the Excel thing. So it wasn't that exciting to see, but a lot of people joined and we're having fun. And the best case scenario happened. I was really worried, like my mom was going to win. And then my friend, I had a friend that was on the Instagram live win live. And then I had a pledge, a dude, also named Chris, that I'd never met before, a new person to tights, and he won it. So I was like, that's awesome, right? Like somebody who doesn't know me, is not my family or friends, got to walk away with the skateboard. So yeah, having those stretch goals, I think, are very important and something to think about before you launch. I kind of was on the fly about it. I thought about a couple of things, but I think I would have benefited from having more of a set plan going in.
Right. Yeah, man, that's kind of like being creative on the go. Like a lot of people don't really think about stretch goals, but it does help because as you say, when you first launch, you're up here and then you have that low kind of road that you're taking and then you want to get more, even though you fit your goal. And I mean, the name of the game is, you want to hit your goal, but let's see what we can do more because more people who pledge, there's more people who are interested in your book, which equals to more people who want to buy your book and more people who are going to probably stick around for issue 2, 3, and whatever else you do. So I think when we talked before, it was kind of like the chicken or the egg when it came to Kickstarter or running the campaign. Do you grow your audience when you launch a Kickstarter, or do you have an audience when you launch a Kickstarter? And it works both ways, and I don't think people really sometimes get that concept. Oh, I don't have a following, I can't run a Kickstarter, but you can run a Kickstarter and then build your following that way. And a lot of people, you have to be super creative to do that. And you got to be super creative.
Yeah, and it takes a little bit of the weight off your shoulders when you at least build up somewhat of a following. And then when you have your pre-launch page and you see, 20, 30 people are down for this. Like, of course, not all of them are going to buy it, but a good amount of them are. And so, as much as you can do beforehand, I highly, highly suggest it in all avenues, like literally everything, building your page, making your book, doing your research, thinking of all the pledge tiers, stretch goals, all that.
Right. We're running out of time, but I do want to touch on a couple more things before we go.
Sure.
You actually got your comic book into local comic book shops now.
Yeah, man. I was
How did
actually
you how did you wing that?
it was actually kind of fun, man. So I live in San Francisco. I think it helps that the book takes place in San Francisco. So
Okay, well, yeah.
immediately, it's interesting a little bit. But what I did is I packed up a box of like these packets. So I had a mix. I made like, I think it was like 7 comics because they're not going to buy like, oh, buy 50. It's like, I'll buy a couple to see if they sell and then call me back and you can come back with more. I did have an order that was a lot larger than that, but most people will be like, I don't even know what this thing's about. Sure, I'll buy 10 of them or 5 of them. So I made these like little packets. And what I did is at first, I bagged and boarded all of them. I would not suggest doing that because the shop has bags and boards, and also people probably want to pick it up and read it. I learned that from one of the comic shop owners. I'm like, damn, that's smart. Why the hell did I do this and waste all those bags and boards? So don't do that. But walk in, I had mostly the standard cover, and then I had a couple variants that were the first run Kickstarter exclusive, and I told them that, and I had some bookmarks left over, postcards left over, stuff that were in pledge tiers that were extra things, in a sticker pack. And so I gave like kind of like a comic shop pack to them. And the stickers, that was all free of charge. I'm like, just hand these out to people who first buy them. It's just like a thank you. You don't have to do that. And I've actually been told by very smart comic shop owners, like they don't a lot of times have any room to do that. So maybe save the fun stuff for when you go to a con or something. So you have all that on the table and be like, listen, these are Kickstarter. These are last Kickstarter exclusive. People dig that stuff. So also something I learned that I probably won't do going forward. But hey, I just on a day, I drove, I Google mapped all the comic shops and I hit all the major ones in the city in a day. And I would go in, I would say, hey, name's Chris, just launched this on Kickstarter, did really well. People are digging it. This is what this comic's about. Would you be interested? I'd be honored if you were to put this on your shelves. And I'll tell you this, most comic shop owners are very nice. They want to support local artists. It's you have anxiety and a ball in your stomach before going in because you don't want to be rejected, right? Not everyone is so nice, but most people are. So man, I just hit the pavement. And I think everyone should do it. One, for the experience, and two, it just gets more people, into your world. And so I've done this in San Francisco. I can now say I'm at, I think, every single major comic shop. I was in one of them today, and just to check in because I was picking up some Valentine stuff. And the guy who runs it's great. It's Isotope Comics in San Francisco. James runs it. Phenomenal dude. And just was like, yeah, it's selling really well. And I saw it there sitting next to Saga, and I was like, this is surreal.
Dude, that has to be so cool going into a shop and seeing your really book on the shelf. Like, I think that's every comic book artist's dream. Yeah, you can sell it online, but there's nothing like going into a comic book shop and seeing your book on the shelf. That is amazing, man.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you, dude.
Thanks, man. And then I went to LA for my sister's birthday party. I'm like, I gotta do it. I gotta try it. And so I packed some comics in my backpack, flew to LA, and I hit up 2 shops and got them in there. Again, most people are really nice.
There was one down, me and my wife, we were in LA a few years ago, and they had this huge, wasn't just a comic book shop, it was like everything in there, like Funko Pops, memorabilia, comics. It's down by Venice Beach, and it kind of looks like the Avengers headquarters. I don't know if you probably went down.
I didn't make it down there. No, but man, LA has some killer shops though.
Oh, they do. Like, they're so big. They're big. And it just like you just lose yourself in there. I remember I bought like a Green Lantern ring, and then I turn to my right, and there's the whole like emotional spectrum of rings. I'm like, I gotta have them all. So I just bought them all. Just laugh. I was like, this place is so awesome. It's so much fun when you run into these kind of shops. Like, you think you can't get this stuff unless you go to a Comic-Con, but no, there they are, and it's so much fun. You get lost in it all the time. So that is so cool, dude. You got your stuff in comic book stores. You killed your first campaign. You're working on issue 2. I saw the post.
I am. I've been jamming, man. I was jamming last night, late nights. But it's fun. It's fun when you get to the part when you get over like, oh my God, there's a blank page. I have to do this now because I have to make an issue 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Like
Yeah.
now people have bought this.
You got to
Um,
keep it up now.
but dude, if you've
You're
gotten,
stuck.
if you've gotten as far as finishing one and feeling good about it, it's just so much fun. Like this is the process. You make a world and you make people, and then you get to kind of control it, right? Like you're playing like this fantastic God game of your own creative world, and just cracking yourself up and making it work, and the problem solving, even the stuff like, oh my God, I've written myself into a corner. Do I have to start over? But then you figure it out, like that feeling of just getting past
Yeah.
those barriers. It
Yeah.
just feels so good. So yeah, I had a good session last night. So I think I figured a lot out. And I think I'm almost at the very end. So
Yeah, that's the best part is like I was revisiting me and my co-host, we were doing the Las Vegas Comic Con in June. So I'm digging out. I've done so much stuff. Like Ultima the Legend Untold is like maybe number 10 of all the projects I've done over the last 10 years. And I've done a lot of writing of books. I've done comic books and I've sat on a lot of them. And then I'm going through like all the stuff we want to sell. We want to do some 3D prints here. We want to do book here. And then I'm coming across all the stuff that I've written that I've never released. And I'm like, I'm going to release this. But then it's like, okay, I'm in your boat now. I wrote this 4 years ago. Do I remember the plot? Do I remember what's going to happen? I don't. So I look at all my notes and I'm like, I don't remember that being in there. I think I changed it. The hardest part is actually writing and just getting the creative juices flowing instead of sitting there trying to ponder over what did I write before? I don't remember. No, fuck that. Just go and write.
Just go, yeah. You can
and
always
let
go
it
back.
flow.
Yeah,
you can always go back. And like I'm pulling out all these books and I'm trying to remember plot threads and like things that I wrote. Because I mean, I whenever I get an idea, I take a note, a pad on my phone, and I jot it down and I make sure that I remember it. I might change it. I might update it on Google Drive. I don't remember, but you gotta go. You gotta go. If you don't feel like writing, you gotta sit down at your desk. You gotta open up the laptop and just write, and then you'll start to see a lot of the creative juices that you had beforehand start coming back to you. And then it's like, oh yeah, I remember I wanted this character to do this because of this scenario here. And it's one of those things that a lot of people can't get past because they're stuck trying to remember. And I'm like, no, it's scary. Yeah.
But if you push through it, then again, it's the most fun thing to do.
Yep.
And
So my last question for you, I know this is getting kind of lengthy, but I'm absorbing everything that you're giving me because I'm fresh. I might have a show, I might be an artist, but I'm fresh at this game. I know you probably ran into some issues when it came to fulfilling your order, like everyone does. What were some of those things, and what is some advice you can give people like me and everyone who's watching, what to look out for when it comes to fulfilling people's pledges?
Oh man, well, so when I came up with the pledge tiers, there was a reason why when I added on the koozie t-shirt pin with a digital copy, not a physical copy, because I could mail it all in one of these thin little blue bags, right? And I knew how much that was going to weigh and approximately how much it was going to cost to buy postage for it. I bought a specific mailer from Comics Wellsprings, and that's who printed my book, because I had 8.5 by 11 prints, and their mailers can fit that. And I knew that I can fit all of my comics, even if it's a single issue, a double issue, all of the stuff in the super bundle all fit in that size. And I weighed it out at the post office. I knew the weights. And then I bought, and everyone should do this, get a thermal printer. They're like $100. They're like this big, they're tiny. And you get your little 4x6 little print stickers, go on pirate ship. You get the best prices. It's cheaper than USPS. And you can upload an Excel document you can download it from Kickstarter of all the people who've pledged, and you can just frickin' print. And they just roll out, and then you stick them on your packages. I bought a scale just to make sure that I was right. And then you don't wait in any lines at the post office. You walk up and you dump 25 at a time just drop your mail off. So you never wait in line. I highly suggest that. So I didn't really run into problems there. I didn't do media mail because I've heard some horror stories of stuff getting kicked back. So I didn't want to, it's obviously cheaper and you get to keep a whole lot more money, but I just didn't want that as the first, experience with tights. So just planning all of that ahead of time really helped me out. So I really didn't have any of that many issues with logistics. When it came to individual things that I bought, like the prints and the comics and all of that, I was lucky. I think I got in before the shortage of paper and all the madness really set in. Again, I was very happy with Comics Wellsprings. They're from Michigan. I'm originally from Michigan, so that went really well. And even when I was shipped, some of the issues were missing a staple, and so I got some feedback that some of the books were kind of coming apart while people were reading. So I was like, hey, if you had one of these, let me know. I'll send you a free replacement. Because Comics Wellsprings was like, we are so sorry, and they replaced all of them, like lickety split. Like I got them in like 2 weeks or a week and a half or something. It was crazy. So just get on board with a good printer. Get all your logistics set and particularly your mailing stuff set or in a good place, because you don't want that to hit for the first time and realize I'm losing money on everything because it's too heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So make sure you get all of that. I was so lucky. My t-shirt order, I will say this, my first t-shirt order, they didn't send me any 2XLs. I had a lot of 2XLs ordered, and the shadow in the shirt was off, and particularly on the red shirts, I'm like, this just looks so weird. So I'm like, guys, I'm missing sizes. The shadow doesn't look like what we agreed upon. So I had to wait. Like I was ready to send those things out like after the Kickstarter, because I had everything ready to go and the digital copies ready to go. But then the t-shirts come and were just wrong. So then I had to wait like 3 more weeks for the second order to come. They did everything right. They fulfilled it. It was free, but I had to wait. So that sucked. Just telling people like, I'm so sorry. Like I told you you're going to have this, but they didn't have your size, or even if we did, I wasn't happy with the product, and I want you to be happy with the product. So
where did you order your shirts from, actually?
It's a company they used to be based in Oakland. Now they're in Phoenix. Let's see. Jeez, I went through so many different t-shirt companies. I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, let me know, because I'm interested in maybe doing that for my Kickstarter, getting some t-shirts made. I got some made originally from the local swap meet down here, but I'm so paranoid of getting them dirty that I never wore them. So they're just up in my closet, just hanging out.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really the only major bummer. The books were good. Everything else went good, but just be prepared for something to go wrong, because it's going to. I wish I would have padded my, I think I was a little ambitious in saying like when everyone's going to get everything. I would pad whatever you think that is going to be by maybe a month.
Yeah.
Because I think I technically made it for most people by the end of December, but there are some people in January. But yeah, I would definitely give yourself a little bit more time, because something's going to happen and you're going to have to react to it, and that'll take some more time.
That's what it comes with owning a business. I mean, you're technically a business owner now, so
yeah,
that's how that works.
Yeah, man.
So, well, Chris, thank you, man, for coming on the show. I really do appreciate you coming out and just let me pick your brain for about an hour. I'm sure I might have more questions, but
hey, let me know, man.
Yeah, dude, and I really do appreciate you helping me on Instagram whenever I have any questions. That helps me out a lot. A lot of people, like you said, we are the indie comics creating community. We like to help each other. And if you have any questions for me regarding anything, I mean, I'm mostly good for like maybe art, maybe writing, if you want to.
You had it all, man, and a podcast. You're checking out boxes.
Yeah, let me know what you got, and you can bounce some ideas off of me. But I'm really excited for you. You're doing some really awesome things, and I can't wait for Tights issue number 2, man.
It'll be coming. It'll be coming this year. Hopefully, springtime. I'm doing the thing. I just had myself.
Well, can you tell everybody where they can, if they missed that on your Kickstarter, where can they pick up Tights issue number 1?
Yeah, tightscomicbook.com. You can read the first 9 pages, see if you even like what we're doing, but we have digital copies on there. I think they're $4. We got physical copies. We still have some of the variants from the Kickstarter are available. Some of the goodies from the Kickstarter are available. We got the t-shirts, skateboards, some fun stuff. So yeah, tightscomicbook.com, I think is probably the best place. And then on social media, Tights Comic Book, pretty much anywhere, you'll find us.
Great. And I'll have all the links in the description for you guys. So thank you guys for watching. Chris, thank you so much for being on the show. Got to have you on again when you're ready to launch Tights number 2. So just keep me in mind for that. All right.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
All right. All right, man. You have a good night, and everyone, please like and subscribe to the channel because it really does help. All right, guys. Thank you, Chris. I'll see you later.
All right, see you, man.
Bye. And that'll do it for this episode of Indie Choice Picks. I am again looking for people to interview on this show. So if you are a creator or a writer or an indie comic book collector, whatever, and you want to come on the show and talk comics, let me know. You can find me at heroicstudiosmedia.com. And of course, you can check out my social media links down at the bottom. You can follow me there and let me know if you guys are interested. Also, submissions for March's edition of Indie Monthly Magazine is now open. It'll be open for the next week or so. So if you are a creator who is maybe camera shy, don't want to talk on a camera or have your face out there, that is perfectly fine. We are doing some simple Q&As and interviews for Indie Monthly Magazine. So you can go over to heroicstudiomedia.com/submissions and fill out the form, and I will get back to you requesting some content from you so I can check it out and get you scheduled for a Q&A. All right, so that'll do it for me. All the links to Chris's website, his social media, as well as heroicstudiosmedia.com, and where you guys can check out Indie Monthly Magazine will be in the description. And also, don't forget to check out my latest podcast episode with Jay Strait coming this Wednesday. And if you missed last week's episode where we checked out ghost videos on TikTok, you can catch that exclusively on YouTube. You can check it out right here. So go ahead, check that out. Let us know. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time on another epic episode of Indie Choice Picks. So take care. Bye.